If you're new here, welcome to the Culinary Cam YouTube channel. My name is Kamala, and I'm really excited to share two different kinds of biscuits that my family loves. Today we are going to talk about biscuits. So what we aren't going to talk about, in the UK, biscuits refer to cookies, and in Italy, biscotti literally means twice cooked, and that's also a cookie. That's not what we're talking about today. We are going to talk about biscuits, American biscuits. I decided to test different kinds of biscuits when we thought about making this video, and I tested laminated biscuits, drop biscuits, a quasi-rolled biscuit, angel biscuits, and sourdough biscuits. And the two that I'm going to share with you today are the ones that bubbled up to the top as my family's favorites. And the first is a drop biscuit. In the South, the US, they actually serve biscuits with sliced open, slathered with mustard, and a slice of ham in the middle, or covered in gravy. And then the second biscuit I'm going to share is a laminated biscuit, which it leans towards the pastry side because it's rolled and you have all these flaky layers, and that one we just pull apart the layers and eat with honey butter in the middle. But the first biscuit I'm showing you is the drop biscuit. So what I love about the drop biscuits, and I'm grateful that this is a family favorite, is that it's one bowl, super simple, and not that many ingredients. So what we have for the drop biscuits, I have 2 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and if you like it more on the sweet side, you can go all the way up to 3 tablespoons of sugar, but we prefer it less sweet. So 1 tablespoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of milk, I prefer whole milk, and then 1/2 cup of melted butter. And as I said, what I love about this is it's one bowl and it's super simple. And you just need a wooden spoon. You're gonna mix that together until everything is completely moistened. You don't wanna mix it too much or your biscuits are gonna get heavy. And then you're just gonna let this rest. It'll thicken up as it sits, and you're preheating your oven to 450 degrees. So as that drop biscuit dough has sat and rested, you can see that it came together and it did puff up just a little bit. That's what you want. And now all you do is you use a spoon to drop that thickened biscuit dough onto a cookie sheet or baking sheet. And you can see I'm not measuring, but these are probably about a 1/2 cup of dough per biscuit. What I love about drop biscuits is that they're super easy. You just drop them on there. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be round. They're not rolled. And that's it. These drop biscuits are going to go in the preheated oven, again, 450 degrees for 12 minutes. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so those biscuits were in the oven at 450 degrees for 12 minutes. If you want them a little bit more brown, just leave them in there for a little bit longer. I'm going to let those cool on the tray for about 5 minutes. So once those biscuits have cooled a little bit, you can move them onto a wire rack to let them cool completely, or if, like my family, you're just going to eat them right now, we're going to plate them up with some gravy. So you're just going to put a biscuit on a plate and then just drizzle it with that warm gravy. So I just have some bacon gravy with some smoked paprika that I made. I just warmed that up for this. Okay, so let's talk about just the time. So the drop biscuits are in the oven from bowl to oven in about 30 minutes, and then they bake only for 12 minutes plus cooling. So you can have a drop biscuit on the table in 50 minutes, so less than an hour. The laminated biscuits, because they include 2 different rises, that is about 2.5 hours from mixing to tray into the oven, and then they bake for 20 minutes plus cooling. So we're looking at almost 3 hours. So that's the time difference between the two. So the laminated biscuits have a little bit more technique involved with them. This is the biscuit that I like, kind of leans towards the pastry, but it has those nice, lovely layers. So you're just going to flour your work surface, and you're going to turn out the biscuit dough that's been resting for about 90 minutes. And you can see all these chunks of butter That's how you're gonna get a lot of the pockets for your layers. If it's sticking too much, you can dust it a little bit. Dust your rolling pin. What is that, 12 by 12? You're just gonna fold this and then in half again. Dust it a little bit more. So you're not making croissants, so you don't need to do too many layers. That was just 1, 2, 3 folds. Now I'm gonna roll this out to the thickness that I want. So you can see in this dough, it has those nice big chunks of butter. Those are gonna melt as you bake it and just create deliciousness. So you can go ahead and cut it with a knife. I am going to be just a little bit more precise and use a square biscuit cutter. You can see those layers in there where the butter is. Those are going to be nice and flaky and pop up. And then you can take the scraps and just re-roll them. You don't want to press it too much. And I could probably get, 2 more out of that, but my tray's full, so I'm just going to put this aside and roll that at another time. And so then you're just going to let these rise for probably about 30 minutes. They're just going to puff up a little bit. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so laminated biscuits go in the oven for a slightly lower temperature than the drop biscuits. The oven is at 400 degrees, and these are going to be in there for 20 minutes. There you have the laminated biscuits just coming out of the oven. Okay, so with the laminated biscuits, you can just pull apart those layers. You can see that nice flaky layer, and then you could put whatever you want in there. Honey butter, jams, jellies on the sweet side, and on the savory side you could put mustard and ham, whatever you want to slice and put in there. And I did want to just speak a little bit about the difference between the two. So we have drop biscuits here and laminated biscuits, and I use them for different purposes, but I just wanted to go through some of the comparison points, and then you can decide which fits best for whatever it is that you want. Now, as far as texture and taste, the drop biscuits are going to be more fluffy and airy and moist, whereas the laminated biscuits have more of that salty, flaky, buttery quality. So those are two different texture and taste, so it depends on what it is you're looking for as to which one you're going to choose. Now, as far as how you use them, they both would be good with gravy. I tend to put gravy on my drop biscuits, and I use the laminated biscuits to pull apart and slather with some sort of honey butter or jam. And then the last point of comparison would be just how they look. So obviously the drop biscuits are dropped onto the baking tray. They end up being a little bit more abstract and not uniform. Whereas the laminated biscuits, because you're using a cutter and you're shaping them, they are more consistent in shape and size, and again have that a little bit more uniformity. Okay, so that's it for biscuits today. If you like this video, please click like. I would love to hear if you try this recipe, or if you just have a preference. Do you prefer drop biscuits or laminated biscuits? Leave me a comment below. And please be sure to click that notification bell and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. I hope this inspired you to get into your kitchen, make some biscuits, and make a delicious mess.